What's going on, everybody? Burton here with PropStream Pro, where we talk to investors nationwide to give you insight on the market, best practices, and advice for your real estate business. And today I'm with a special guest,
Forrest Blackburn.
What's going on, Forrest? Really good friends.
It's good to see you, man.
For those of you that don't know who Forrest is, can we get a quick background of who you are?
So I'm really a scaler. I'm a business scaler. I come from the entertainment industry first and foremost. I was an actor and I was a musician with Capitol Records, but I was heavy on the marketing side. So I ended up working with Paramount Pictures and Capitol Records, and really helping them grow their artists. And then from there, I started up a marketing company that I grew up to 1,500 reps nationwide and 17 franchises, and it's a whole long story. But working with small and medium businesses, we built about 50,000 websites and did about 24,000 full stack app developments. And
Sheesh.
yeah, it was a monster. But then I was working as a consultant, so I worked with a lot of big companies: Travelocity, UPS, Disney Cruises, 1-800-Dentist, Keller Williams, in helping them scale their sales and marketing. And in doing that, HGTV reached out. I ended up working with Tariq El Moussa from the show Flipper Flop and building a company.
Very familiar with that show.
Behind that, and that's how you and I met.
Yeah.
Actually, so I took Tariq by his houses from a very small amount of wholesale and assignment fees in the beginning. About 5 months later, we're in the million plus a month, and then 2 million a month, and kind of grew a monster there. But with a lot of help from PropStream, implementing PropStream into our day-to-day activities, and that was a big part of our software.
Oh, wow, that's on it. I didn't even realize that was big. I know it was a tool that you guys utilized, but didn't realize
it was a tool, but it was a tool that we really leaned on. And and you and I, we would talk almost daily about different things, and you always help me out.
I appreciate that. Well, the one thing I'm all for is anybody that wants that information, we're willing to give. So you are definitely one to take as much information from me as possible, which I love. So when you got that call from HGTV and they said, "Hey, we're going to do this real estate thing," what were your thoughts? I mean, you were doing everything else but real estate. What was the trigger that pulled a yes? Well, what made you say yes?
Well, real estate, I'm fourth generation real estate. So, I bought my first flip when I was 19, and paid all cash for a house in Burbank, California, put about $47,000 into that property, and held it for a couple of years and then sold it. Actually, I did a 1031 exchange into a condominium in Orange County, California. So that's always kind of been in the background. And so when I got the phone call I got the initial phone call from Tariq's business partner, Pete. And we had a long conversation, and it was just another conversation that I've had with business owners and operators of other companies.
Right.
So it wasn't like an out of the norm kind of a conversation, but it was going to be an exclusive deal. And I talked to my circle of friends about that. I talked to my business partners, and I ended up cashing out of my marketing company and selling my shares off to my partners, and taking this contract. And I worked with them for about 2 years and scaled it to a monster. And I just found that of all the different niches that I was working in business in corporate America, that it's all a template at the end of the day, but everything's got its own little tweak. But with this, with real estate, it was something that was just. It's like how Neo sees the Matrix.
Yeah. Then it just clicked, right?
It just layered right in. And for me, doing wholesale and doing assignments, that's a fast cash churn. And for marketing, I need that fast cash churn to roll it back into marketing and keep going. If you're just focusing on flipping, your cash cycle can be 6-7 months before that flips over.
Right.
And what do you do during that time? You go pockets out with lights and brights, and your staff is waiting to get paid. But with wholesale, I really use wholesale and marketing as a wide net to not just, wholesale is a cash churn and a cash cow,
right,
but that net being put out there with that big marketing net, that's where you come up with your buy and holds and your flips, and that's how you find them.
Okay.
So it was just kind of an easy thing, and it just clicked in, and I was able to really knock it out of the park, and now I work with a lot of really big people doing the same thing and replication of effort.
I love that. Now, for those that are watching right now, they're like, hey, wait a minute, I'm looking to scale my business. What two tips would you give? What are your top two advice that you would say?
Well, a lot of people talk to me about scaling. They say, I want to scale my sales, so that means I've got to get more people. Not necessarily. It really comes down to your targeted audience and who you're targeting. So, if scaling, right, we're talking about getting more revenue.
Right.
At the end of the day,
ultimately,
that's
what
the
it is.
punchline.
That's the bottom line, right?
So for me, if you want to scale your revenue, it doesn't mean more people. That's more overhead. So look at your targeted audience. If you are only picking up properties in Arkansas, and your spreads are $5, $7, $8,000 a piece, how many of those deals do you really have to do per month, or how many people do you need to have to hit the deal count per month to hit your revenue goals? Versus switching over to someplace like Southern California or Florida or both, where I use the adage, a bigger cookie, the bigger the crumb. You've got these houses in Southern California where you can have 100, 150, 200, even $300,000 spreads. My biggest spread was $487,000 on a property in Bel Air. I mean, that's huge. Most people don't do that in 6 months, let alone in one deal. So, I say pick your battles, get rid of the noise, and really focus on the revenue aspect of it. So it's not necessarily on doing 80 deals to achieve $100,000 a month. In Southern California, you can do one deal, and that's $100,000 a month.
So true.
So it's not necessarily scaling the size of your team or how many deals you're doing. It really comes down to picking where you can make the most amount of revenue with the least amount of effort.
I love that. I love that. Now, with your experience in marketing and your experience in real estate and just scaling businesses, especially in real estate, for those that are just starting right now and looking to see, what should they do in terms of marketing, what would you say is the most effective marketing for someone that's just starting out?
Well, for somebody who's just starting out, we don't really necessarily have a lot of a budget, right? So for me, I would say it'd be agent outreach. Getting in contact with agents that can then, agents have pocket listings. At the end of the day, a real estate agent, their website, they're not going to show shit shacks. They're going to show these amazing properties so they can show mom, look at what I do, and their friends, and I only deal with these multi-million-dollar properties. So these distressed homes, these ones that need a lot of work, they're not making it onto their website. They're what's called pocket listings. So it's really kind of a secret. It's a backdoor kind of deal.
Ooh,
and if
you guys just got
if
a
you
big
reach out to these agents, and they'll tell you, actually, you know what? I was having wine last night with another realtor, and she said she's got this deal, and I'll put it to you. So the more agent relationships you can cultivate, and utilizing PropStream, by the way, not to give you a shameless plug, but if you utilize PropStream and you go and look at pending and contingent listings, you can then pull that data out and do a sort filtering, so it only shows you the agent contact information, agent email, agent phone number. You don't have to skip trace that information. Hit up the agent, say, listen, I was contacting you about 1234 Main Street. I saw it was pending. Are you accepting backup offers? And if they say yes or no, it really doesn't matter, because the whole thing is to get in through the gate and get into the door and tell them, listen, I'm an investor. I'm looking for A, B, and C, these kinds of properties, because this is the kind of properties my buyers want, right? And that's another aspect of it. If you don't have buyers lined up and they're not telling you what they're looking for with a shopping list, then you're just going out and getting properties and then trying to figure out, like a fire sale, who to sell them to.
You have no consumers, essentially.
100%. So if you have I always say, find your buyers first, then go fishing, right? If they tell you, hey, I only like rainbow trout, you're not going to go out fishing for bass. You're only going to go out fishing for rainbow trout. Then you get into the boat, you got somebody to buy it. So, you get that buy box criteria. You go to these agents and you say, this is what my buyers want. You find that, I will get your property sold, I'll connect it with the buyer. Because in a wholesale and assignment, we're a middleman.
Yeah.
That's really what we are. We're finding a property and we're finding a buyer and we're putting them together. But you got to know what the buyer wants first before you go fishing. Otherwise, you're wasting your time, and then that contract that you got, no matter how many contracts you get, if you can't dispose of it, then it's like that old adage, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to hear it, does it really make a sound?
That's true.
All the work that you put in to acquire that deal, the marketing, the time spent, the negotiation, if you don't dispose of it, you never monetize it, so it's like it never really happened, except all your time's gone.
That's so realistic, right? I mean, you really just broke it down.
Just
you
makes
need
sense.
to know your consumers in order to present the product that they need.
100%.
Right? I love that. So let's wrap this up. In about 30 seconds or less, what are your thoughts on the 2023 market?
Well, it's a different market, and as you're talking in acquisitions, so the difference between acquisitions and dispositions is B2C, dispositions is B2B. Dispositions is actually where you're selling a product. So on the acquisition side, you've got to educate your sellers. And a lot of the sellers that we're talking to today that are now ready to sell are procrastinators. They should have sold in 2021 when there was no inventory and interest rates were low and people were overpaying for houses by $100,000. Sometimes in Southern California in the millions, they were overpaying.
That's right.
If there was not a property available, they'd pay for whatever they could to get into that school district or get into that bougie neighborhood that they had to show off with their friends. But in this market today, these folks still think that that yesterday's price is today's price. And the big thing is today's price is not tomorrow's price. You have to educate them. So I cite articles from CNN, Fox Business, Forbes, all of that data is out there.
Yeah.
So if you can, don't take the horse's, don't take the horse's mouth. Don't take my word for it. Read these articles. Read these third-party sources that have huge amount of invested dollars in investigative work, and then educate your sellers on the market, where the market is today. And if they want to think about it, that's fine, but it's going to be lower the next time they come back. So right now you got to strike while the iron's hot. You didn't sell in 2021, 2022. It's 2023. It's a different market. The prices have changed. And I tell sellers all the time, unfortunately, I'm in real estate. And I know you're not, but right now you're selling a house.
Oh.
So we both have the same boss. It's the market. The market dictates to you what you can sell it for, and it dictates to me what I can buy it for. So the offer I give you today, if there's a comp that comes up in 3 days from now while you're still thinking about it, and the price is lower, guess what? The market just said you can sell this, you can only sell this for lower, and I can only buy it for lower. And my underwriting team is investigating this stuff on a 72-hour turnaround. So if I give you a contract today and you don't sign it, you want to sit on your hands for a week, within 72 hours, my underwriting team is going to revisit it, and if there's a new comp that came out, guess what? The offer has to be lower because the market dictates to both of us what you can sell it for and what I can buy it for.
Boom. Forrest, you're a wealth of valuable information. You really are, man. I've learned a lot from you personally, but there's someone out there that just has to know more about you, or maybe they have a deal they want to bring across your table. How can one reach you, either because they have a deal or just to follow your journey?
You can reach me personally by going to my website, which is forrestblackburn.com, 2 R's in Forrest and Blackburn, just like it sounds. You can get yourself on the calendar. If you need mentorship or coaching, you can book it through there too. But if you guys have deals that you want to sell and you need to move, Cody Sperber and I work very, very closely, and we have something called Send Us the Deals. It's sendusthedeals.com. If you've got a deal that you're having a hard time disposing of or getting rid of, go to the website, enter in the address. I have a whole team of people that will get back to you within 24 hours. We will vet the deal, and if we don't buy it ourselves, we'll find the buyer. Cody's he's been doing this for 20 years. The VIP buyers list that we have access to is parallel to none. And we have a huge JV arm. We will get the buyer in place. We'll do the deal. And if there's any ever retrade that has to be done, we're going to tell you, hey, I think you got this one locked up too high. Here's the materials. Here's the ammo to go back to the seller and retrade on that deal, because we want to get it sold, because we want to make money with you. So sendusthedeals.com is a great place to send the deals that you're having a hard time getting rid of. If you're a wholesaler and you only work in St. Louis and you got a wild hair lead that came in Alaska and you know nothing about Alaska, sendusthedeals.com. Send us that deal and we'll get it disposed for you, because I know you don't have any buyers in Alaska. It's not your bag, but it is ours.
Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, my special guest, Forrest Blackburn. And I want to thank everybody that's been watching. Make sure you guys tune in for our next episode. In a few months from now, we'll make sure we get an update with Forrest and see where he's at with his journey. But thanks again for tuning in.